Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I know we're obsessed with the tiny mic. Welcome to Energize Live Monday morning. It is Monday. Oh my goodness, what is today? November 21st. Listen, I have to tell you something. I have to tell you about this tiny mic that I think is so funny. So I got this tiny mic before we went to Arizona in October. Okay, I got it because I got two of them. If I could show you this, you probably can't see. I don't know if you can see. You can't see that. You see that down here at the bottom? Like you could actually plug another one in. And I got it when we went to Arizona because I thought, my gosh, I'm around so many incredible, amazing human beings here. What if I had a chance to record a little bit of a podcast or do an Energize Live? So I got the tiny mic then. And then I lost my voice. And I'm like, let me use a tiny mic. And since I've been using the tiny mic, first of all, not only do I love the tiny mic because it gives you better sound, and I can take that sound and put it on a podcast, and that makes me really happy. It helps me with my voice, which clearly still is not back. I'm still very coffee today. But third, I probably have had more messages about the tiny mic, and are you continuing to use the tiny mic? I've had more direct messages about the tiny mic than I think almost anything, and that makes me really happy because you know what? There's just a lot of just junk in the world, and if we can all just come together and have some simple joy over a tiny mic, I'm really here for that. And if you happen to watch, I think there was an award show last night. American Music Awards, maybe. I'm not really sure. I think that's what it was. And they were doing interviews on the red carpet. Do you know what they were using? They were using a tiny mic. So I think everyone should get one, and it's very joyful to have this tiny mic. So now I'm making my Energize with one hand. I'm just making it with one hand. Okay, my friends, it is a Monday. It's a big Monday. Lots of stuff happened over the weekend, and the elephant in the room that we'll just talk about right out of the gate, and we'll talk about it and then we'll be done with it, because our topic today for Energize Live is boundaries. We're talking about boundaries today. Definitely want this to be interactive, okay? So please come with the intention of interacting on this, because as our series continues, thriving in the holiday season and beyond, the more interactive we can be, I think the better value you're going to get out of Energize Live. So we're going to get to our topic of boundaries in a moment. Hold, please. However, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room. I got to turn off the request to go live. No, you cannot go live with me. I'll let you know if you can go live with me, okay? I promise I will let you know. I promise. We're going to talk about... Let's get this baby out. Let's talk about the elephant in the room really quickly, because I know if we're friends on here, you probably have some sort of Disney love, right? You have some sort of Disney love. You love Disney like I do. So tell me in the comments right now if you're my Disney people. Like, are you part of my Disney community? Are you a Disney person? You consider yourself a Disney person? You know, give me some mouse ears. Give me a yes or a no or whatever in the comments while I'm frothing and icing up my Energize. Let me know where you are with this, because then we're going to talk about the thing, and then we're not going to talk about it anymore. Tell me in the comments. Are you... So sorry about the cough. So sorry about it. I wish it was gone. But I'm hoping that the longer I'm up, I think the better it gets. But, you know. Okay, we got some Disney people. Okay. So, for my Disney people... That's okay if you've never been. You can still love Disney even if you've never been to the parks. Disney's more than the parks. You know that, right? Disney's more than the parks. You can still love everything about it. You can still love. whether you've been to it or not. That's okay. Although you need to go, but I'm just saying. Okay, Jeff, we're gonna take you off. Thank you, Jeff. Get out. You're not part of Energize Live. It's so funny, the people that show up on here. I'm like, why do you click on someone's live that you don't know? I think it's just so weird. Get out. I'm very protective of my Energize Live community. Okay. So for my Disney people, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the news that is sweeping the internet, literally broke the internet last night, that the now former CEO of Disney, Bob Chapek, has stepped down, and the person who was former and is now current CEO of Disney, Bob Iger, is back. Now, I'm going to say this. First of all, if you know anything about me, you have no idea how many DMs and messages I've gotten about this whole situation. Let's back up a little bit. If you know anything about me at all, you know that Bob Iger is the CEO that I aspire to be. His book, Ride of a Lifetime, is my most read, my most recommended, my most gifted book. Literally, I've read it more than any other book ever. I've gifted it to people more than any other book ever, and I've recommended it. I just created my bookshop.org book list, which is in my links. So if you're looking for books for holidays, go. And I've got kids links or lists and young adult lists and all the things. And Ride of a Lifetime is the first book on my list because it's the book that changed how I looked at business. It changed the kind of CEO that I want to be. It changed my life. Okay? So if you know anything about me, like you already kind of know that about me. And I really have a little bit of an obsessive love for Bob Iger. I'm not sure what I would do if I met him. It's probably better that I don't, but I adore him. So the current CEO, who was the current CEO, Bob Chapek, is now out. Bob Iger's now out. And if you're a Disney person, you know this, okay? I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Last night at 9:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we got a phone call from our middle daughter who works for Disney Plus. She works for the Walt Disney Corporation. She lives in LA. 9:45, she called me and she's like, this is big. Like, this is huge breaking news. There's press everywhere. And Bob Chapek is out. Bob Iger is in. Da-da-da. So we knew about it like literally as it was happening in real life. Then I got all these DMs and all these messages. So here's what I want to say to you about this whole situation, and I want you to apply it to your life because I have something else. I have a connector that I want. Why am I talking about this? Why am I talking about this? Okay, hold on. I'm going to take a drink. I'm going to tell you why I'm talking about it. And it's kind of funny that it happened on a Sunday because I think about this a lot on Sundays. Why am I talking about it this morning? On the surface level, there's so much energy and so much time devoted last night to this situation of Bob Chapek being out and Bob Iger being in. I mean, my Instagram feed, my Facebook feed was like dominated by it. Okay, it is a large news story. Yes, Disney's a multi-billion-dollar corporation, so dominated by it, crazy. But here's what I want to say on the surface level. In the comments, do you personally, or does a member of your family work for the Walt Disney Corporation? Yes or no in the comments. I'm going to put my mic down and clean up a little bit of my spill while you tell me that. That is the question. Do you personally or one of your family members work for the Walt Disney Corporation? Yes or no in the comments. I'm going to guess the majority of people are going to say no. I have two members of my family who work for the Walt Disney Corporation. But if you don't, or your family doesn't, you're not receiving, or someone in your family is not receiving a paycheck from the Walt Disney Corporation, right? Okay. I mean, when my daughter called me last night, there is a measure of, I can't believe this is happening, and also I'm nervous for my job. Okay, so that's a whole different level of concern, right? My daughter on the ship, a little less concerned. Josie's a little bit more concerned. Here's the thing. If you don't receive a paycheck from the Walt Disney Company, or someone in your family's livelihood doesn't receive a paycheck from the Walt Disney Company, why are you wasting so much time and energy in this conversation? That's number one. Number two, have you run a multi-billion-dollar corporation? I'm gonna guess that the answer is no. You have not run a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and I'm not just talking to you. I'm kind of talking about to the general Disney fandom, because I was like, calm the f down, people. Have you run a multi-billion-dollar corporation? No, you have not. So, do you know what it takes to run a multi-billion-dollar corporation? No, you do not. So if you do not literally receive a paycheck from the company, or someone in your family's livelihood does not depend on this company, or you have not run a multi-billion-dollar corporation, this is a conversation that you need to note and perhaps have a small opinion on, but not spend the majority of your time thinking about. I said it. Now, why is this interesting? I mentioned, why is it interesting that it happened on a Sunday? Because what happens on Sundays? NFL, right now, it's the NFL. Saturday's college game days, Sunday's the NFL. Remember, I come from the college football world, okay? So I lived this, I get this. And I watch people, sometimes my husband will have the NFL games on Sundays, and I watch these people go to these games, and their faces are painted, like their chests are bare, and their chests are painted, and they're all painted up, and they're screaming and screaming and screaming as if their life depends on this win or loss. In that stadium of people, how many people actually receive a paycheck from the NFL team for whom they are cheering? Very few. Out of the total number of people in that stadium. And they are cheering and spending so much energy as if their life depended on it. My social media feed was bombasted, if that's even a word, with people spending so much time and energy on this CEO change at Disney. Listen, you already know how I feel about Bob Iger. You think I am not ecstatic to have him back? Yes. But so much time and energy spent on this. So much strong opinion and so much energy. NFL game day on a Sunday. So much time and energy. I'm painting my face. I'm painting my chest. This is not to say that sports or Disney or any of that is wrong. What my point is this. What if you took all that time and energy and actually put it into your own goals and dreams in life? I feel like I should drop the tiny mic right now. What if you took all that time and energy, people sharing all this stuff about, the CEO, and I'm so happy, or cheering on their NFL team, and they've painted up their faces. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. What I'm saying is, what if you took all that time and energy and actually put it into your own freaking life? What if you actually put it into your own freaking goals and dreams? What if you did that? So that's my point this morning. For the Disney fandom, calm the F down, all right? Unless you're actually getting a paycheck from the Walt Disney Company, calm down. These are human beings that we're talking about, all right? Go to all the sports events that you want to in the world, but unless you're getting a paycheck from them, like it was a whole different situation on a Saturday for my family, because our livelihood depended on that win and loss, right? Our livelihood depended on that win and loss. It's a whole different situation. If your livelihood doesn't depend on it, calm the F down and take all that energy and all that passion and actually put it into your own goals and dreams and create the life that you want to live on purpose of purpose. That's what I have to say about that. The topic today is boundaries, but I have to say that I just had to say that because I was feeling that so passionately this morning. I'm like, what? what? It's so much easier in a way for humans to have all these judgments on other people and what they should be doing and the play they should have made and all this, instead of actually, let me just worry about me. You know what my grandma said? Some of you have been with me on ENERGIZE Live for a long time, and you probably remember this saying from my dear sweet Grandma Irvin, who was like literally this tall. She was so teeny tiny. And my Grandma Irvin would always go, sweep your own front porch first. Sweep your own front porch first. Take care of your own self first before you start pointing fingers or getting involved in conversations about anything else. That's right. That's right, Allie. Sweep your own front porch first. And I think that the whole Disney conversation last night just reminded me of that. It happened on a Sunday, and it reminded me of that. And it's like we spend so much time thinking and worrying about other stuff that has no effect on us. And I would love to see us actually take some of that time and energy and put it into our own goals and dreams. That is what I am saying this morning. Now, I promised you a little bit of a conversation around boundaries because we are talking about how to thrive through the holiday season. And I know that this week we move into the actual Thanksgiving holiday, and you might be traveling. You might be having experiences and situations and circumstances where you're around people that maybe aren't your favorite human beings, and you need some boundaries. So let me ask you this, because this has to be interactive for it to be valuable, I think, for you. Let me ask you this. Do you have boundaries? Do you feel good setting boundaries? When we talk about boundaries, kind of what does that mean to you? What does the idea of boundaries mean to you, especially in terms of the holidays? I'm so interested in, when I say boundaries, are you like, ooh, or are you like, yeah, I need them? Like, which kind of, are you like, or are you like, oh? What's your feeling on boundaries? Do you want more of them? Do you feel like you're pretty good at setting them? Do the holidays stress you out? I have a hard time setting boundaries. I'm a people pleaser. Boundaries are so important. Terrible boundaries. I'm a people pleaser. Interesting. Boundaries, know your limits and what you will tolerate. Need them, yes, to boundaries. So I'm curious. So 2 people have said that they are people pleasers. Well, we teach people what to respect, Allison. 3 people now. 3 people saying that they're people pleasers. So I'm also curious about that phrase. I'm working on my boundaries. I'm reading all your comments. Working on that. That's good, Jody. That's good. So I'm curious about that phrase, people pleaser, because has someone given that phrase to you, or is that something you've decided for yourself? Caitlin, is this time of year challenging, or is that something that you've decided for yourself? What I think about so much of life, what I'm constantly learning and being reminded of is that so much of what we're saying right here, even in this conversation, so much of what we're saying, so much of what we're talking about right here in this conversation even, is stories that we're telling ourselves in our head, whether they're actually true or not. Are they, or are we making them true? It's so interesting to me. I'm going to tell you a quick story that feels very unrelated to this, but I think it's kind of okay. So just stay with me here for a minute. I was speaking at a coach retreat this weekend in here in Orlando, and had the honor of being asked to come over and I spent about 90 minutes doing a Q&A with a group of coaches on another team. And this coach just made the offhand comment to me of, well, you have so many people that you're adding to your team all the time, that da-da-da-da. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. Did I say I have so many people that I'm adding to my team all the time? She goes, no, I just assumed. And I thought, isn't that interesting? She's wound herself up in a story in her mind about what I'm actually doing in my business. So I'm sharing that with you because I think what happens here with this title of people pleaser, or this title of any characteristic or whatever that we give to ourselves, I think we tell ourselves that story. She was telling herself this story. Well, she just has so many, she's just adding so many people to her team. She has masses and that was her term she used, masses of people all the time. She probably doesn't have to worry about that. I don't. I've never said that. I've never talked about having masses of people on my team. That was a story she was telling herself as to why her business was harder for her. Couldn't possibly be harder for me because I am adding so many people to my team. This was a whole story she had created in her mind. I've literally never said that, ever. A whole story she created in her mind. I'm sharing that with you, not because, we all do that. We all create stories, but that's what I'm saying is when it comes to boundaries, and we're having this conversation about boundaries, and you're saying, well, I'm a people pleaser, or I'm a this, or I need more boundaries, or da-da-da-da-da. What I would love for you to do yesterday, I asked you to write down some of the triggers that you know are going to happen over this week, and then maybe how you can start to proactively get ready for them. I would love for you to think about some of the stories that you're telling yourself and how true they are. Now, perception is reality. So if you perceive yourself to be a people pleaser, you're probably living into that. But I would love for you to dissect some of those stories, because are you a people pleaser? Or have you wound up that story in your mind so much that now you've given yourself permission to not set boundaries? And I'm just scrolling through these comments a little bit too. Tiffany, I would ask your husband to, I like that he's calling you out on that. I would love for him to help you get some tools in place to focus. Is he helping you focus on you? Is he helping you create a solution to that? I don't like when people are like, well, you just do this all the time without some sort of solution to it, Hold on, I'm reading. Reading. Patty, I'm going to spend, I think it's Christmas or Thanksgiving, in the comfort of my own home with my husband and daughter. My mother-in-law, who I love dearly, respects it, but I can tell she doesn't like it. Isn't that so interesting? I feel that. I feel that. Okay, so just back to this idea, assumptions. Assumptions are worse. So try not to make them about others, but you do. We all do. We all make assumptions about others. I think so much is a story that we're telling ourselves. Like, are we really people pleasers? Do we need more boundaries? Is the situation with our family as fraught with stress as we are telling ourselves it is? When I would go to holiday dinners and my sister would be there, remember, it's good to know in your family who is the whack job, because if you don't know who it is, then it could be you. I know in my family who it is, okay? It's not me. So when I would go to these, I would get so worked up in my mind about having to deal, like I could feel it physiologically in my body about having to deal with my sister. Can I tell you that I worked myself up so much? The story I told myself about how stressful it was going to be was so much more than what actually transpired. And my husband would go in. Of course, he doesn't have the same attachment, but he would go in. He'd make a little bit of small talk. He'd go about his business, and we would get back in the car. And I'd be like, okay, that wasn't so bad. He's like, yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about. Because he hadn't made any assumptions, and he hadn't worked himself up into some weird story about what was going to happen. So he didn't have any of that experience. I'm sharing that with you because when you're talking about being a people pleaser, when you're talking about needing more boundaries, when you're talking about going to see family, and you're talking about all of these stressful situations, which can be stressful, what I want you to really dig into is, are we making them more stressful than they are by the stories we tell ourselves? And if so, where are some boundaries we can set in our mind that can help us with that? Right? Where are some boundaries we can set? I have set some really tangible boundaries with some members of my family in terms of communication. And as in, I have some very tangible boundaries around communication. And I just don't. Okay. But that's tangible stuff that I can semi-control. I think the boundaries we need to set more are right in here. They're right in here. And that comes first from examining the stories that we're telling ourselves. Are you working yourself up into something that may or may not really transpire? And if you get there and there is stress, or there is a situation, or whatever, what kind of boundaries do you have in here to help you navigate that situation? Okay, I'm going to take a moment and read the comments. I'm curious if this is resonating with you at all. Rebecca loves the tiny mic. The tiny mic is not going away, let me tell you. Okay. Oh my gosh, Tara, this is so good. I would have arguments in my head defending myself before I would even get there. I would get there and none of that would happen. Tara, thank you for sharing that. I think that is exactly what I'm trying to articulate here. Like, we work ourselves up into these stories that then often don't even transpire. And then, as I was saying yesterday, something does happen and we've already worked ourselves up into such a tither that one little poke sets us off. So what kind of boundaries can we set in our minds? Not just the tangible ones, but what kind of boundaries can we set in our minds that can help us navigate that? There's so much around these stories that we're telling ourselves. Yes, it's the anxiety that we allow to come in because of the stories that we're telling ourselves. That's such a great example, Tara. Like, you'd already worked yourself up into arguments that were going to happen when you got there that then never even happened. No wonder you were stressed. I did the same thing. So many of us have done the same thing. That is not thriving during the holidays. That is surviving. And that's not what anyone needs to be doing. The boundaries need to happen in our mind. What are we going to allow in? Let me say that a little bit better. What are we going to actually allow to have an effect on us? Just because someone says it doesn't mean it's true. I know. Who knew? Just because, like, can I just tell you how many years my in-laws would be like, that little fitness thing you're doing? Listen. Just because they said it like that didn't mean it was true. Just because they called it that little fitness thing didn't mean it was true. It's my purpose and my passion, and it's how I create impact and income. It's not that little fitness thing. So there's a boundary. Just because someone says it doesn't mean it's true. I'm going to give you one tip, though. A really firm boundary that I would like you to hold for yourself and for others. Before that, I do that, I'm just going to read through the comments. I was the only, oh my gosh, B.N. Dolan. I would love if I knew your first name, but that is so brilliant. I used to do this, and then I realized I was the only one making me mad with my imagination. That is you just nailed it. You just nailed it. That is so good. So good. And I decided it would be fine if someone said something mean to me. I just end the conversation and walk away. Oh my God, that's so good. That is so good. Yes, it's so good. Okay, I'm gonna give you one little tip that I want you to really hold fast to, especially going into Thanksgiving, which is a holiday centered around food. No one gets to make a comment about your physical body or what you're putting into it. Okay? So please take that, hold that fast, and hold that for other people too. No one gets to make a comment about your physical body or what you're putting into it. Okay, I wish someone would have told me that years and years ago, because I would get a lot of comments. Well, you're too thin, or you're too this, or why are you doing this, or why are you eating this? No one gets to make a comment about your physical body or what you're putting into it. And if they do, that's a boundary you have to enforce. You have to. As in, I'm not comfortable with that comment. I'm not sure what you meant by it, but let's not have that kind of conversation again. And in fact, using the words, actually no one gets to make a comment about my physical body and what I put into it, except me. No one gets to make a comment about your physical body. No one. No one gets to make a comment about your children's physical bodies, especially your daughters. No one gets to make a comment about your physical bodies or what you're putting into it. No one gets to make a comment. Not even, you've lost weight, you look good, as if you didn't before. No one gets to make a comment. No one gets to make a comment about what you're putting in your body. So if you are a vegan like me and you choose not to eat the stuff you choose not to eat the turkey, no one gets to make a comment about that. No one gets to make a comment about that. You get comments because you allow comments. Stop allowing them. Just put up your hand like, we're not going to talk about that. That's not up for conversation. That is not up for discussion. That is not up for discussion. Actually, that's hurtful. That's not up for discussion. So in terms of boundaries, to recap, so you can go on and live the rest of your Monday, the first and most important boundaries are here in your head. And being so cognizant of if you're working yourself up into something that isn't actually going to happen, and the stories that you're telling yourself, and what kind of boundaries can you set in your mind. Second is, because we're going into a holiday that's centered around food, and because I've experienced this a good portion of my life, that's part of my generational trauma and baggage that I carry from my mother, is comments about your body. And I have, over my lifetime of parenting, caught myself saying things about my own daughters, so now I've just passed some of that generational baggage on to them. We're all works in progress. The sooner we know what we need to work on, the more work we can do on it. Okay, so I'm not like I'm not innocent in all this. We carry it, and then before we unpack it and kind of shed it, sometimes we pass it on, whether we want to or not. But once we know better, we do better. No one gets to make a comment about your physical body or what you're putting into it. And I got to tell you, it's up to you to stop it. If you don't like it and it makes you uncomfortable, and it should, and you don't want that happening to your daughters or to your children, your boys either, no one needs to make a comment about your physical body or what you're putting into it, and you're going to have to be the one that stops it. You're going to have to be the one that goes, that makes me really uncomfortable, let's not say that. And it might feel weird for the 10 seconds that you actually say that. It might feel weird for the 30 seconds afterwards. But do you want to actually feel weird for 30 seconds, or do you want to feel weird for the whole rest of your life because you didn't have the gonads to stand up and say, stop talking to me like that? I said what I said. Okay, it's time to go work out. I've already done my planner. I've already done my personal development. We've already had a conversation here on Energize Live. I'm going to go hit up Healthy Obsession, day 11. Couple things. Kendria, I was married to a football coach. I have a lot of slang terms. Okay, couple things before we wrap up. Number one, on the links in my bio is my link to bookshop.org. We are in the process of developing all kinds of lists for you. Please go check them out. There are lists for, that's the new word, go dads. There are lists for young adults. There are lists for children. There are cookbook lists. There are personal development lists. There are some fiction lists. There are some lists on there. Go over to that link. Anything you purchase supports independent bookstores. So please, if you are buying books for yourself or for anyone for the holidays, please use that link and let's support independent bookstores. That link is at the top of my bio. Second link in my bio, I think, is my coupon for Swig. Swig Life, baby. Swig Life, Swig Life. I have a little discount code for you for 15% off. And I totally lost track. We have not done any kind of situation. Okay, I got to talk about that on my stories today so that we gather some pictures and I make a little collage of Swig Life. But go get yourself a Swig Life tumbler. And then also on the links in my bio is the wait list for my Sure Thing test group. If you're not a coach and you're not working with a coach and you want to be part of my Sure Thing test group, get your name on that wait list and I will message you. So lots of good things. Everything's in the links in my bio. Tomorrow, ENERGIZE Live is just for my team, and we have so much to celebrate. So, Sparta Nation, I will see you in there tomorrow, Tuesday, and then we're going to play Wednesday by ear because Josie gets in tomorrow for the week for Thanksgiving. So I will have another JV here. Okay. I hope this was helpful. I really hope it was helpful. I know that the holidays can be stressful because they've been stressful for me, but I hope that this is helpful in some way. Go work on your boundaries. Go put your time and energy into your own goals and dreams. Go get on my Sure Thing wait list. Go get yourself a Swig tumbler and go buy some books from bookshop.org and make it an awesome Monday. Happy Thanksgiving week.